Well, I wanted the front of the Corvette to be completely removable as well as the rear, and I was kind of waiting for the perfect product to decide how I can quickly remove my fenders, bumper, hood, while still maintaining a very high strength factor. We just added rib nuts to the chassis and bolted everything for now. I knew that that would be not very intrusive and it would allow me to do what I want to do later. I wanted a latch style. I wanted something that could go in a seam like this, and basically I would be able to latch it apart and it would separate. But you can't use those silly rubber band things with the two little holes. That's not going to do it. You can't use any kind of bolted brackets because that takes too long. We have found the solution, and I'm really excited to show you guys how this works. It is what is commonly used on GT and Formula type race cars. Cars have flipped over and these latches have still maintained their integrity. The panels didn't fly off. So I'm gonna use it for the hood, bumpers, fenders. I'm gonna use it for the hood, bumper, fenders, and we are gonna see an incredible product be used on an incredible car. So without further ado, this is what we're gonna be using. All right, guys, maybe you guessed, maybe you didn't. We're using Aero Catch products. Aero Catch has been known to make the quick latch that everybody uses on their hoods. This is very commonly copied and there's lots of cheap options, but we all know the real brand is Aero Catch. I'll show you just quickly. Everybody is familiar. Oh, I opened it upside down. Everybody is familiar with these. So this is the official, legit. Material is amazing. We've got stainless steel, actual metal pins inside. Everything to do with this is the highest quality. You can even tell by the pins that the thread quality, because we thread all of our own stuff here. So I can tell everything to do with this product is as good as you can get. So that's what everybody else is familiar with. What you're not familiar with is their panel pocket and panel attaching. I don't know if that's how I should call that. What you are not familiar with is that they have panel latching options and solutions to hold things together. So a pin keeps a hood down. It's fairly simple. These actually latch and mechanically... I open it upside down again. Okay, so the display is on the front, the party's in the back. Got it. So what's really interesting about these products is they are actually completely made out of metal. So these two parts are all aluminum, machined and extruded to perfection. Stainless steel pins, springs, latches, hooks, anodized, and then the coolest part is that they have a mechanical connection first. It can't go left to right, it can't go up and down. The latch comes in, and you can see as the latch closes to click, it actually is gonna suck these two components together. And then there's quite a bit of pressure required here. You're about to see this mechanism click, and now you have successfully connected two panels together in a way that is as if you bolted it, but actually it's even better than that. So this bracket is their smaller, it's their mini essentially. And I'm gonna be using this on the inside, going on the steel frame and then connecting to the inner fenders of the Corvette. So this is gonna be connected to the fender, this is gonna be connected to the frame, or vice versa. We're gonna see what fits better. I'm gonna put my fender, slide it into here, latch this in place, and I'm gonna be able to reach in my wheel well and unlatch it and take the whole fender off. So we have gotten these to do the front end of the car, and we're gonna do the front end of the car, proof of concept, see how it goes, because whenever we're doing things maintenance-wise, fixing stuff, whatever, if we damage something to the point of no repair and it's just gotta come off, zap this off. We'll be back to dealing with what's important, like the suspension, braking systems, axles if it's in the rear, stuff like that, as quickly as possible. Get the fenders out of the way so that we can go on the more critical components. In drifting, it's very physical. In other forms of racing, this is just gonna be really nice to work on stuff. They have a larger, oh my goodness. Again. It's, yeah, anyways. They have a larger option as well. This is the above panel option. So essentially what you're gonna see is the flanges, and it's gonna look really nice because a lot of this stuff, this is like high-end boats, GT cars. This is like legitimate stuff. So this is like the smaller one, but it has more surface area for mounting, and I'm okay with using this on metal components because It is smaller, I need to fit it in other places, but this is going to be on the actual body panel itself. So I need that surface area, I need that backing plate because I'm going to need to get as much clamping pressure as possible. But it's the same concept. Two components that come apart, they mechanically align, and then when you latch them together, they click into place, and there's absolutely no way that you're going to be able to separate this without pushing this first and getting it apart. And I'm going to show you where this is going to go. So we're going to be applying these in locations like this or like this, and in the rear we're going to be applying it like this and somewhere like here. So on the back I'll probably have one up here, one down here. So the bumper will disconnect from the rear quarter with just one latch. And then the smaller latches that I showed you, those are gonna be going from frame to inner fender. And then obviously the Aero Catch hood pins are gonna be on the rear trunk, replacing these, which the only reason I use those is because off of Pegasus website, they're fairly cheap and they were very non-intrusive. So I didn't have to put a big hole in it in order to use them. And they actually work really well. And they're really simple. So I use those, but these are going to be the ultimate solution. It's a bit of a flex, but again, we're building this for quality, speed, efficiency. When we go to compete with the best in the world, we need to have the best tools. Tools have always been something that will emphasize a driver's ability, and why would you ever run yourself short if you have the opportunity to work with the best? So Aero Catch is the best. These things are incredible. They will be available on our website, and obviously from Aero Catch and everyone else, you will be able to buy them depending on where you are. That's where you're going to buy from likely, but this is just going to show you what they have available and how good it is. All right, so on this video, I'm going over a rear grip kit design for the E46. I have been able to make a product or a kit that actually tows in under compression by moving a lot of the points, all within FD regulations, of course. You can see we've got some very unique brackets here on the subframe, and also the knuckle looks kind of crazy. I'm gonna show you guys the build process while talking about it through my story timeline here, and then we'll talk about all of its crazy features like how to adjust toe, which is gonna be really cool, the dual caliper bracket options, the adjustments and what they actually change on the car, and then how I went about thinking about the design. So yeah, let's start from the knuckle itself. So here's the knuckle. I had the factory one in its place. I'm just gonna hide that because it kind of blocks the story. And let's go from here. So I hit play, and you can see the process started by importing the trailing arm bracket and then locating where that needs to be on the car. I made a very rough draft of what I wanted the actual trailing arm portion to be. Putting these in the computer just because I was easily able to lengthen them and move them around on a makeshift knuckle. At this point, I was simulating and moving points in the actual simulation file. This is the knuckle file. So you can start to see the process of the official knuckle coming together. Now I'm starting to make where I determined the points needed to be. I'm starting to make it happen from there. Included the ABS sensor, added some plates, some bends, and this is where it gets interesting. I knew I needed to brace the bulk of the knuckle at this bending point. Added in some cutouts, lighten up the whole assembly, designing the bracket for the Willwood calipers. Adding some cutouts, I also included 370Z wheel bearings. That's what these holes are for. So we have 370 here, and we have a BMW hub there. The dual caliper bracket is going to fasten to the knuckle in these points. These holes were put here to avoid both versions of the bearing. This tube is going to be made from chromoly, and this is made from alloy steel. We have a nice cutout here to keep it light where the tube's going to be welded. The toe adjustment, let's take a look at that. This is going to be how we connect the arm to the chassis. You can see I have a lot of holes up here. Essentially this block right here will be, we'll have different versions of it. So you'll have a block that'll go to these front holes or the rear. The front holes are going to increase traction The middle holes are OEM location, the center one being completely factory. And raising and lowering these is basically going to adjust your anti-squat and then your ratio at which that percentage increases or decreases. So lengthening it will improve it. I was told by a lot of teams that the adjustments here through these slots are a pain. So I still have the slots, but our toe adjustment will actually be done through this point, which I have simulated here. So we're actually going to be adding shims between these 2 points, and we'll be able to adjust the toe quite dramatically using this. And it'll be really fast and really easy to do that using these bolts. So these bolts are going to be bolts or studs. We haven't determined that yet. This is just the rough draft design. And then this is going to be used as an adjuster. So as we thread this in, it's actually going to push the trailing arm inward and increase your toe. So if we want to simulate that on this, okay, so we've got the toe in action happening right there. You can see how the toe goes in and out, easily done with shims. So if I wanted to do 1 degree or half a degree or whatever of toe equally on both sides, I'll be able to add the same thickness shim here at this point, and it's going to change only toe. That's the coolest part. It'll only change the toe instead of any other things like camber and obviously track width as well. We don't want to affect the track width with any kind of adjustments. And I'm also going to go through the build process here as well, so we can play the storyboard and you can see this kind of come together. Started with the subframe, made those relocation brackets like I was talking about where we needed those points to be moved. Threw in the quick change to get axle clearance idea. Basically, I'm going to make a winner's quick change mount for this as well. And then I threw in some random arms. This may not be the final design for the control arms. I just needed some lengths that I can play with. And yeah, that's basically it. So I do have the full wheel well simulated. So I can line up where it is, and I can also make the bearing visible. So that's with the brakes and the bracket. So we've updated the assembly now. You're going to see the bearing come visible here in a second. Yep, there's the bearing. So now we can cycle the suspension throughout its travel range like this. We can see exactly what it's going to do, what it's going to hit, how it's going to gain. So we were able to get this to toe in under compression very slightly, but the biggest problem was the factory suspension, and any other kit actually toes out under compression, which is awful for drifting. We wanted to maintain toe, so we don't want any bump steer, or we want toe in. Those are the two options that work. Toe out does not work. So we do have toe in, and we are able to adjust the amount of toe in by using these holes. These holes slightly affect camber, but not as much as they affect toe on this kit, and that is based on the locations that I've put the arms here. So all in all, that is the gist of the kit. I'm probably 80% the way there on the design, but that is very quickly how this has gone. And you can see the wheel. This is the same size as a 285/35/18 tire. And you can see how it travels up in the chassis. You probably wouldn't go any further than that, as the tire is going to be hitting the actual inner fender. So that's about as deep as we would go. We may need to make some modifications to the upper, add a dip or something to clear this pinch weld. So we've still got to look into that. But all in all, it's been great designing this. We'll be making some improvements from here, refining the product, making it buildable, and that's it. Thanks for watching.